affordable homes. Are they Section 8? Are they rent control? Are there anything under $500,000? On today's episode of Build Baby Build, we'll discuss what affordable homes are and what they can be. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us today on this episode of Build Baby Build. I'm here at Crown Street Cottages with Taylor Knight and Johnson, and we want to look around the houses. Taylor lists these houses. Taylor, can you tell us about yourself, how long you've been in the industry, and a little bit about Crown Street Cottages?
Yeah, I'd love to. My name is Taylor Knight. Like you said, I am an associate broker with Chisholm Mill Realty. I've been a real estate agent for about 4 years or so, and I started exclusively working with Chisholm Mill about 2.5 years ago. And I just love this builder, and I love doing what I do.
Well, thank you. Can you show us around the house?
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure.
Thank you. So today's episode of Build Baby Build is about affordability. And so Taylor, as we entered the house, we were on the front porch. These are detached houses. My experience with affordable homes was always townhomes. So how does this house and the cottages at Crown Street answer the affordability issue?
Yeah, so one thing that's really cool about these, it's kind of a new style for us. These are just over or just under 1,200 square feet, every single one of these. The great one about this is we have both ranch style plans and multi-story, so it kind of works for no matter who you're trying to sell to.
Right. And you've sold a lot of houses, and most of yours have been under $400,000 for Chisholm Mill.
Yeah, Chisholm Mill does a great job trying to bridge that gap of first-time home buyer needs. Around COVID, when that dip happened in rates, everybody bought the houses that they wanted to start in.
Yep.
Well, now they're outgrowing those houses, but they aren't buying new because they want to keep that rate. So
Right.
new home buyers aren't able to get that entry-level house, and that's where Chisholm Mill is trying to come in and build some really affordable, great products for first-time home buyers.
Right. So you've been successful in the mid 300s lately.
Absolutely.
And then this is in the mid 200s.
That's right. All 5 of these are going to be right under $250,000.
And so based on your experience, who you've sold to in the past, who do you think your buyer is for a house around $250,000?
Well, like I said, first-time home buyers is a great price point for those, as well as, anybody that's just trying to save a little money. Right now, it's very hard for people to buy a house on a single income. So any single income people, this might be a better option for, as well as I've seen investors come in and make more renter-friendly housing
Okay.
as well.
That makes sense. I was wondering if having the single story home around 250, you might be selling to people my age who want a single story home but don't necessarily want to be in an age targeted neighborhood.
Yeah, we've definitely had some of those, especially around our $300,000 range, $350,000 range. We build a lot of ranches these days, which is great because it really can work for any family, no matter your age.
It seems to be a real hole in the market for single story homes.
Absolutely. It's a lot cheaper typically to build up than build out, is what they say. So not a ton of builders start with a ranch. They'll kind of build up first. And that's one cool thing about Chisholm Mill is a lot of what we're doing right now is ranch. This is kind of a scaled down ranch. So similar stylistically, but just on a smaller scale. And then we have some going on as well that are ranches with a bonus area as well.
And so this is 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yes, it is.
And then your multi-story are 2 with an
bedrooms
unfinished
with an-
bonus.
That's right.
And 2.5 bath.
That's right.
Okay, great. Well, would you like to show us around?
Yeah.
And can I give you a break with Johnson? Here you go.
He snuck in this video. He wasn't supposed to be here. All right now we are standing in front of the kitchen in our Callaway plan. This is a beautiful ranch plan. As we mentioned, it is 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and it is all 1 story, which is awesome. This is actually a great size kitchen, especially for a house this size. It even has its own large island, quartz countertops, and this nice end where you could put some bar stools or have a nice breakfast table. When you move in, you go directly into our nice open living space. You could have couches, a beautiful TV there, and it is nice and open, perfect for entertaining. And for extra entertaining space, you can move out into our great large size deck, which is perfect for having your friends over, enjoying a nice cup of coffee in the morning. Now we're just off our front door, and this is where you're gonna find your 2 secondary bedrooms. These bedrooms share a full bath right between them, and it is conveniently located off the front door for guests to use as well. Also, if you go just straight across, you'll find your full laundry room. Now we've moved into our beautiful owner suite. This large room is just accented by the tall ceilings that are in every space in this house. Our 9-foot ceilings are perfect for you to lay out and lounge before moving into your ensuite and full walk-in closet. We are standing outside our Rhodes plan. This is a unique 3-story plan with 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and a full unfinished space. Right now, we are on the first floor of our Rhodes plan. You'll notice really large, ample space for your living area, accented by 9-foot ceilings. You move into a very conveniently located dining area and kitchen right behind us. The kitchen's gonna have quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances, and soft close cabinets. And to top it all off, a half bathroom, making this floor the perfect space for entertaining. Moving upstairs to our second floor, you're going to find our awesome owner's suite. This entire level is dedicated to the primary residence of the home. In our owner bedroom, you're going to find a nice large open area with lots of natural light, moving into a full ensuite and walk-in closet. Just down the hall from us is your laundry room as well. Moving up to our third floor, we've got our secondary bedroom. This bedroom features lots of natural light, a vaulted ceiling, and plenty of space for your bed to relax. Of course, moving down the hall, you have another bathroom as well as a third unfinished space that's about the same size as this one. Thank you so much for coming to visit Crown Street Cottages in LaGrange.
All right, well, we're back back from our field trip. That was a lot of fun and very informative. And we're sitting here with John Knight. John, would you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
All right, thanks, Dad. I'm John Knight, and I'm the owner and president of Chisholm Mill Homes. We're a small production home builder in South Metro Atlanta. Uh, Over the last couple of years, we've been kind of focusing ours on price point and getting people into homes they can afford. So I believe that's what we're here talking about today. So we sold about we're averaging about 40 sales a year. We build a lot on like scattered lots around what we call the exurb. So where we are at right now is Fayette and Coweta, where we live. If those are the suburbs, we normally build about 30 minutes south in what we call the exurb. So a little bit further out to where we can build a lot more house at a lot better price.
So how do you do that? I know I've been developing subdivisions that where it's a self-contained subdivision of between 100 or 500 lots, that type thing. And you say scattered lot. What is that, and why do you think there's a market for that type home?
Yeah. So, lot price would be like our biggest factor in determining sales price of a home. With scattered lots, we do some stuff. I mentioned we do stuff in the exurbs. We do some stuff in more populated areas where maybe there's a problem child lot in a neighborhood that's left over, and so it's affordable because it's got interesting topography. Maybe it's gonna be a septic system that's engineered that's going to cost more money, and so often developers will forget about those lots and choose not to build on them because they're more of a hassle. But we'll use the price reduction for the difficulties to be able to go in there, and we'll be willing to work on something that maybe a larger developer is not. So we do a lot of that. That's what a scattered lot is, kind of like some of the forgotten children lots. And then we also do some stuff in the exurbs. We do a lot of where we do a majority of our business. We've found success in going to an area that's further away, that larger developers aren't typically in yet because they're less populated. Maybe we do a lot of stuff in Meriwether County, which we're probably the largest builder in Meriwether County, and probably the first builder in Meriwether County in a long time. It's kind of starting to pick back up, but because of that, the land is a lot more affordable, which allows us to have a low starting point to where we build larger houses on larger lots. And if someone wants to live in Coweta, what we build for $350,000, if they want to live in Coweta, if they could rather commute for 30 minutes, and they could afford a lot better of a house
Right.
with a lot more property.
Okay, and so when I was closer to it, and working in sales, monthly payments seem to be the big driver. And as you're describing that, I'm thinking you probably don't have HOA dues in most of these places, do you?
No, most of them we do not have HOA. If it's the ones I mentioned that are leftover lots from large developers, those are going to be grandfathered into an HOA. We're working on a small development. We do very minimal development, but we're working on a small one in Gay, Georgia, and Meriwether County that I believe will have a very like conservative HOA to manage an entrance. We'll want to put an entrance in there. So, but most of ours are road frontage lots. So we'll purchase 10 acres with 1,000 feet of road frontage, and then we'll cut that up into 2-acre lots with 200 feet of road frontage, and there's no need for an HOA. So that is a good saving that you have there.
When we were coming back from your cottages, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes, I went past some of your neighborhoods that you're describing in Meriwether, and what stood out to me is, and I know these homes, that they didn't have an HOA, and they don't have over the top covenants, and so people who wanted to build a outbuilding or store an RV or a boat, those type things, they were able to do that there. So it looks like that would be appealing to some of your buyers.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's that's one of the funnest parts about the business is, going by the stuff you built 2 years ago and seeing like someone turn a house into a home. And so we put a lot of fences in already. It's a big selling feature of ours. We'll fence in a 2-acre lot, which is huge for a fenced in area, especially at $360,000. So we'll do that, but often people, if not, people put in their own fence. They'll put in their porch swings, and there are some RV people, and they have a lot of area to park their RV.
Yeah, I tell you, it stands out because everywhere in this metro area and then throughout the southeast where we work, the storage facilities are popping up everywhere, and one big thing they store are RVs and boats and things like that. So, yeah, I think that's really an interesting niche that you have people that can buy your home. They can have the big lot that gives them room for chicken coops and all those kind of things and gardens, and then have a little freedom to do what they want to do. That seemed like it would really appeal to your buyers.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a millennial thing or what, but it seems like people are really interested in having everyone wants property. Now, everyone thinks that they need 5 to 10 acres, but they've never seen 2 acres. They've never seen all these neighborhoods that you're looking at are a 1/4 acre lot. And so I live on 1 acre. When I have people come over, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe how large your backyard is." And so most of our stuff is larger than 1 acre. It's 1.5 minimum to like 2 acres in Meriwether. And so, yeah, these people are putting, they get their piece of property. They have their chickens, they have their gardens. And so it's cool to see that take
That
shape.
is, and that's neat. And then after COVID, everyone could kind of work anywhere they wanted to work from. And so a big challenge might be internet and some of those, but I think y'all have solved that too.
It seems like the internet's made their way out there. Also, Elon Musk has helped us. If
Oh, that's right.
there's an area where it's not quite there, you can be like, well, there's always Starlink. So, but it seems like the internet is less of an issue than it has been. When we first started out there, when do you think we did Forest Knoll? Was that was 2018, 2019? So, that was our first experiment there, and it was okay. Uh, but that was pre-COVID, so that was 2018, 2019. I think after 2020, where everyone was working from home or everyone was commuting, that people were more like, oh well, we can buy a lot better house, and all we have to do is commute to work 30 minutes. Some people might even still work from home, so it's made it to where that business has kind of taken flight since then.
I think I saw in an ad that for Starlink that they said that they were the most popular internet service in Bangladesh and Meriwether County, Georgia.
Yeah, maybe.
So, and you're trying to scale that business. How do you do that? So, when we at Templar Development, we develop a lot of lots, and we sell lots. Townhome lots are now in the low 100s. We try to keep them in the high teens, maybe 95,000 if possible. We got one right now that needs to be probably in the 115 to 120 range. We have detached lots coming online for 120 to 125,000. And the builders who buy those things, it looks like they're letting their lot price encroach almost to 30% of the average sales price of their house. And for the industry professionals that are watching this, that'll be the percentage of lot cost to ASP. And so how does you're in these scattered lot locations for a reason. You say it's to offer a lower price, more house for less money. How does the lot cost relate to your average sales price?
Yeah. So I mean, we still dabble in your typical production home building. I mean, we bought lots from you in Sonata, a townhome neighborhood. Um, those lots were selling for, I believe, $90,000, and we're selling those as low as like $270,000. So that's, your own son. You did that too, and so those lots are about 33% of sales price.
Yeah.
So I mean, definitely, I don't even think.
Why'd you buy those lots?
I know. I tried to talk you guys out of it. So I mean, we're fighting over there, but it's a good looking neighborhood too. But
Yeah.
but they have certainly, not only are they encroaching 30%, that was in
Over.
that case it's over, and I'm certain where you're selling them for 110, that those are going to be they're going to be in a market where they had to fight to reduce their sales price, so those will be over 30%. In Meriwether, we are looking for lots. We love to get lots if it's in. We can get lots as low as like $30,000 starting. Now, when I buy a Sonata lot, it's not always, but in Sonata's case, it's cleared and graded, and it's got water and sewer and streets, and so it's got a lot of development. So the 90,000 to 30,000 isn't a fair apples to apples. So I will say, like, we start at 30,000. We do 15K in grading. I'd say we have an additional at least $10,000 in utility fees, because we'll be typically doing well and septic as opposed to just a water and sewer tap fee. So our septic and well is probably close to about $20,000 right now, and so we still pay for the taps, but the infrastructure's already in. So I'll give like $10,000 here. That being said, I would say you're looking at about $60,000, and so for your lot price, for an apples to apples one with that, and we're selling houses we can sell them for as low as 300 in certain plans, but we have had a lot of success with our plans that are like $360,000. So there you're looking at 20%, starting at 20%, and which is more in line with what it has been historically.
Historically, that's what we would like to
Yeah,
see.
and then we get as low. I would say we get as low as 15%.
I think you do.
Mhm.
And what I think is really good about that is now that affordability is so important to people looking for houses, that you've passed that savings along to your home buyer,
Mhm.
and it helps encourage people to be willing to make that 20-minute farther commute. And gas prices coming down to $2.40.
Yeah, that helps.
But President said they were down to $1.95. I hadn't found it yet, but hey, we'll see.
Yeah.
So if gas prices are down $2.40 and people can get out there and they can get Starlink, then you're in good shape.
I think we offer something that I don't really see offered very much. I think our biggest hurdle is getting people out there, but I think once people are, people who are familiar with Coweta and live in Coweta and have done that their whole life, some of them don't even know about Meriwether County.
Yeah.
And it's just one south. And so if you can get people to go look at them, then they have a really hard time looking at other stuff.
Yeah, I
you know?
just see that.
If you go to Coweta and you look at 350 and you see what we're offering for 350 and that's your price, then you'll quickly want to drive.
Well, I wanted some education on what you do with the scattered lot, because most of our guests have been more in production development, like I have been historically, or production building, or engineering those type of neighborhoods, or lending for those type of neighborhoods, or selling those type of neighborhoods. So, one, I'm interested in the industry. I'm also interested in, how do you scale that business? Or do you even want to scale it? Are you satisfied with 40 closings a year, or what are your plans to scale something like that? Because I know how to scale a production home building business. I don't know how you would do a scattered lot business.
Yeah. So about 2 years ago, we hired a land acquisition manager who's we always have lots in front of us. So we've been stuck around the 40 sales for the last 3 years, but not because of a lot minimum. I think the economy is kind of, and I hate to blame the economy for everything, but it's been a hindrance to our growth. But we definitely want to scale. We love the scattered lots. It's our favorite part of the business. We like what we're offering compared to everyone else. I still see us being in neighborhoods that are typical, because we like to do that as well. But the scattered lots thing is it's unique, and so I think it differentiates us. And so what we're doing with our land acquisition manager is we kind of created this. Right now, we build in Meriwether, and we have some stuff under contract in Pike and Spalding, so we're slowly moving that way. But we kind of want to create what we talk about at our land meeting is like a donut around, like, here's Atlanta, here's where this little arc is. We want to extend that and start doing the scattered lots in more areas. So we definitely want to grow that and keep going. But we do need some help from the economy to help us get sales. But I think we are planning on building this year. We're already planning on starting more, and so you can't sell houses if you don't have houses to sell. So this year we're going to be building more, which I think is already going to give us over the 40. I think our new goal as of our builder meeting yesterday is 75. So I think we can hit that goal just because of what we currently already have on the ground and how we plan on starting more houses early at the beginning of the year.
Well, before we move on and talk about the cottages, one thing that stands out to me is when we were building, we had townhomes, we had truly entry-level homes, we had kind of a first move up, and then we had a really large, 4,000 square foot houses, and we built these all in production. Managing that wide variety of product was really difficult, and it kept the purchasing department busy all the time. Would it be right to assume you don't have to have 100 different floor plans to still have variety, because your variety is ensured through the variety of locations that you have?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it that I haven't really thought of. But yeah, we have about, I'd say we really have 7 plans that we love, and, like, if I only have 2 lots, there's 2 plans that we really love because they are always crowd pleasers. And so we build them in so many different locations and different lot sizes and shapes and areas that they are unique. And so it's not like a neighborhood full of 5 plans. And so that is a good way of putting it. We are unique through that. We also are unique on our elevations and selections on all of them, just for our own personal portfolio. We like to see that. In addition to that, we've also tried to, we've had a lot of success at that $350,000 ranch, but there's some people who still can't afford that. And there's some people who like it, but might want a little bit more. So we're currently adding to our plan portfolio, where we're adding one that's closer to Meriwether's minimum square footage of 1375, and we're going to take out the garage, and we believe that'll get us to that under 300 number. And then we have some plans where we're going to do basically our current ranches, and we're going to add bonus rooms above the garage to someone who wants a little bit more. Maybe the storage is an issue. So we haven't built any of those yet, but we're currently working on all those. We have them permitted, and we're currently grading on each of those kind of plans.
And so, as a business, you're running a business, is it safe to assume that since you've been building these same houses, you really know the cost? You've got the cost locked down before you ever drive a nail, basically.
Yeah, I think it's certainly a lot easier than it used to be telling people who are like, "Oh, what's this going to cost?" I can pretty confidently say, "Oh, that plan is going to start at 350," which is very helpful. People, they want a square footage price, which does not add up. I was actually meeting with a buyer yesterday, and they're like, "Oh, we love this plan," and I was like, "Well, that plan's going to be about $750,000," and they're like, "Well, we also like this one." I was like, "Okay, well, that one's like 550," and they're like, "They're only 300 square feet apart," and so it's difficult to deal in price per square foot.
They didn't understand that you get $700 a square foot.
Yeah, yeah. So in this case, it was Addie's plan, and I was like, oh, I built that for my sister, and she's got expensive taste, evidently.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for bringing me up to speed on what you do. But we just left the cottages, and that's a full departure from everything we just discussed.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you started talking, you mentioned price as kind of a driver that you try to serve that buyer, maybe first time buyer or price conscious buyer. Why did you do that cottage product?
Well, I guess it's still in line with our business model in regards to chasing price and meeting the buyers where they need to be. And so we found in the cottage courts you're describing now is in LaGrange, Georgia, and we found a unique zoning that they offer where they allow you to do cottage plans, which are, I believe their minimum is 800 square feet, and that's not what we're building out there right now, but they allow a much smaller plan, unique from many other zonings, and you can build several houses on one lot. So I think we bought about an acre out there, and we have 5 cottages on that property. And so the point being, we found something unique where we can chase that price and meet the buyers where they need to be. So those, like I mentioned, some people still can't afford $350,000, and so how can we get them a house? Well, we got to go less than $350,000.
And not everybody wants to, just because if someone qualifies for it doesn't mean they want to spend all their money on it either.
Yeah.
So unique to that neighborhood was road front parking,
Mm-hmm.
and then the courtyard, and you've got the bench and a little walking path around it. Is that something you wanted to put in, or something that was required to be put in?
The parking in the front is, so these cottage plans, they don't have garages, so we have um at least we have a handicapped space out there and like a little parking area that services the 5 lot community, and then we have probably about 12 spaces out there, enough for over 2 cars per house, is what we were going for. So I think we probably have about 2.25 parking per house. So that is necessary. The bench and the dog cleanup thing that you mentioned, that wasn't necessary. We thought it was a good fit. If someone, it's a little, you don't really have much of a backyard in these communities. You have like a shared front yard. It's kind of like a detached townhome vibe. You guys saw it, and I believe you're sharing a video about it. But and so they don't really have too much of their own yard. They have a nice, cool shared community space that you can play in, and if you want a dog, we thought it'd be a good fit for a bench and like
Yeah.
in a dog cleanup area. So that's not a problem.
Well, it's really attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And the floor plans, you have 2 distinct floor plans, but even the three-story buildings look distinctly different, and they complement each other. The it's an infill product. So infill, for anybody that's watching or listening, is taking up vacant lots inside the city limits. Typically, is how that's defined.
Mm-hmm.
Well, neat. So that you were on a previous episode of Build Baby Build, and you and Lance Alexander went through an exercise where that price point, so you're around 250,
Mm-hmm.
you think that's going to serve who?
So I was hoping to build these for closer to 225, which is especially after that podcast you're referencing. We talked about, the leaders in the community, your teachers, policemen, nurses, firemen. That we did a whole exercise where we saw what their average pay was and what that would mean. Lance helped us decide what they could afford, and that was coming around 220. So we were hoping to be able to reach that. And I think that on our next cottage, we have several opportunities in there. That's what we have ideas to even lower the cost. I mentioned that the ranch that we built out there is like 1,200 square feet, and then so is the 3-story. They're right under 1,200 square feet, which I believe is the maximum. So it's our first experiment with the cottages, and we went with plans that were closer to the max of the cottage design. But I think, that's not necessary. If someone's trying to get into home ownership, then we can even reduce that lower and get them in. So I'm hoping for, that's just what we ran in the numbers. I'm still thinking that those people can likely sneak their way into some of these houses, your first responders and teachers. But we have hopes that that's kind of the people we'll be servicing. The young professionals, maybe people who just got out of college, and LaGrange is a kind of a busy area with lots of job opportunities. So someone who's working a job and other jobs than just those that we mentioned, but that can get into their foot into home ownership.
Yeah, when I was down there looking around, granted it's infill, so infill has a couple of challenges because typically you're building in an area that has a lot of older stuff around it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's in a city,
Mm-hmm.
and so you get everything that comes with the city. And in this case, you've got coffee shop less than 5 minutes away, a great grocer
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes away. The college is less than probably 5 minutes away. Interstate's not 10 minutes away, I don't think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all the accoutrements of being in a city come with infill development. And I think that's going to be really, really neat to see who chooses to live in those homes. The hospital being right there, it would be a great place for nurses to live.
Yeah.
So when you had the opportunity to build a 700 or 800 square foot house, why did you choose to build on the upper end of the cottage
Um,
series?
so I think it is our first time experimenting with the cottage courts, and I think we had some ideas for some plans, and normally you come up with a plan design and you figure out the square footage later. So we didn't realize we were on the top end, and we liked our plans. I still like them. I really like that community. I think it's super cool.
Mhm.
But I think in order to get to that 225 and less, m- hopefully, maybe we can even get in the 190s,
Mhm.
which would be awesome. But we'll need to get to that smaller square footage. But I think we designed a plan that we thought was cool for the cottage courts. We have a 2-story that's like the 3-story, but we were like, maybe they want an extra bedroom, so we needed to add that third story. We could have gone with a 2-story with a 2-bedroom, and maybe that's more in line with what this buyer needs anyway. Maybe, if it's a single nurse.
That's a good point. When we were doing this, when it was your grandfather and me and my uncle and our cousins talking about product, in the 47 years I've been doing this, now 48 years, every time it came to thinking about a two bedroom house, man, it'd make you nervous.
Mhm.
And we built one in Conyers, and it sold and it was fine, but it was make a little reluctant. But with affordability being such an issue, if you did one of those 2 bedroom plans, I think I've seen the plan you're talking about. I think it's a bath and a
Yeah,
half bath downstairs, full bath upstairs. I bet you could get that thing down close to $200,000.
I think so. I think there's a chance we could get that to 199. Yeah, I think when in this business, I've learned you got to walk a fine line between what you want to own and what you prefer and what other people prefer. Because I a lot of times when we're selling a house in Meriwether and maybe one's slow moving, I'll be like, well, what could I change to make this, like, what if I was living here, what would I want to see? Maybe I'd want this driveway could use some work. But not everyone needs a third bedroom. So maybe a person, they're not so
Yeah,
they need just one bedroom and they want to save $400 a month. And
right.
so you can't just be like, oh, this is what I want, so that's what everyone wants.
Mhm.
But it does help in other
Well,
aspects.
that's a good point because now the average age of the first time home buyer is 40 years old. And so if the difference between waiting till you're 40 or buying a 2 bedroom home when you're 26, if it's a binary choice, probably most people would choose the 2-bedroom house
Mm-hmm.
so they wouldn't have to wait or pay rent until they're 40 years old.
Well, how many of those people are renting 3-bedroom apartments? You don't really hear about that.
No,
So
that's a good
where they're living right now is 2-bedroom anyway. I think that statistic you mentioned has kind of been the driving force between a lot of our business. We, hear that the first time home buyer is 40 years old, and that doesn't sit right with us. I'm lucky enough to own a house, so do all my siblings, a handful of my friends. Um, but you shouldn't have to wait till you're 40 to own your first house.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So you're what, 31?
Mm-hmm.
I remember
Thank you.
being there. Yeah, yeah. And your friends. Now some of your friends do own houses.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of your friends are in the business,
Mm-hmm.
and they figured out how to do it. But do you have friends who are waiting, who are frustrated, or what do you think about all that? Because as an old guy, I remember buying my house and I checked that box. I met your mom, checked that box,
Mm-hmm.
and started having kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think intuitively, a lot of us have that same order. And so if a young person is so frustrated they can't wait till they're 40 years old, does that delay when they get married? Does it delay when they have kids? You're living it.
Mm-hmm.
Your contemporaries are living it. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I've definitely heard that from lots of people. I have
Really?
friends who, yeah, I have most of my friends own homes. I think a lot my wife Taylor's friends do not own homes, and I think kind of with our first model with moving to the exurbs, a lot of Taylor's friends want to live in Atlanta. They want to, and it's impossible. A lot of my friends already were like, "Oh, well, we can't live." Even the ones who worked in Atlanta, they're like, "We can't live in Atlanta. We need to move to Coweta if we want to buy a home." So that was kind of the mindset that also led to us. The same people who want to live in Coweta but can't do that, well, they can live in Meriwether. So I think if some people or younger people need to possibly wrap their mind around commuting if they want to own a home, and then those who are trying to buy a home and want to start a family. I've heard several people who are like, "Oh, we want to own a home before we have kids." And then, I know that age has gone way up of, parents when they had their child. Or then I hear about people who own a home, but now they have no money and they're like, "Oh, we need some more money before we have kids."
Yeah.
Which, I disagree with both those sentiments, but it's a common theme amongst people my age is that, we need to have a home and we need to have money before we
And you've
can.
got 2 kids.
Yeah,
Do you ever have enough money to have kids?
no, you can't. You can't have enough money for them. So, uh, I think people should go ahead and start, but if that's what's holding them up, we'd like to, be part of the solution, and so we can give you guys houses that you can potentially afford.
Yeah, I think that's good. You know, I know it's good. Today's episode of Build Baby Build is really about affordability. And so when I get this chance to speak to people and I talk to a group of 10 people or 50 people, I've gotten to where I ask the question, can you tell me what you think an affordable house is? And this person will tell me Section 8. This will tell me some kind of rent control. This one will say anything under $400,000. Honestly, if I talk to 10 people, there's 10 definitions. If I talk to 50, there's 50 definitions. But recently, and actually it was kicked off by the exercise you and Lance and I went through when we talked about affordability and indexing that to the purchasing power of a municipal employee.
Mhm.
I had an opportunity to speak to a county in Metro Atlanta, and they wanted to talk about affordable housing. And so we went there and said, well, actually, after talking to you, I understood what you could deliver for around $200,000.
Mhm.
And in that case, at that time, it was a 1,000 square foot house, 3 bedrooms on a 35-foot wide lot, and we could do that.
Mhm.
Uh, and when I told the folks that, they were just shocked that that they didn't even have that on their books and their
Mhm.
zoning ordinance. They couldn't do it. To their credit, they've been very proactive since then, and they've had multiple workshops and are creating an overlay district to do it. What was really interesting about that, though, John, when we found out what they would need to be under $250,000, we pulled up. They also had graduated between the years 2005 and 2015. So that group of people would be 28 to 38 years old. They had graduated 16,000 people, with the average salary in that area was around 56,000 a year. They also were advertising for 870 jobs in their municipality. That was sheriffs and nurses and teachers and all kind of stuff. That average pay was going to be up to $54,000 a year. So we were able to demonstrate to them that they need 17,000 of these sub $250,000 houses right now if they care about their employees and their children and their grandchildren living in the same zip code as they live in. What we found was they had 13 listings under $250,000 in the entire county. The average age of those houses was 42 years. 10 of the 13 were modular homes. And that was really eye-opening. And so once they saw that, then that's when they kicked off being intentional about designing a affordable housing overlay district. So what I really like about what you did at Cottages was you built that product. And what was really neat about being there was the opportunity that we get to show everyone who's watching us today on YouTube. If you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see the tour of the homes, what we can offer as a truly first-time buyer. And to your point, maybe we could keep the development cost down a little bit, or we could adjust the plan a little bit, because that ranch has a really big open vaulted area that's expensive, and there's probably ways to save money that would not make an appreciable difference. But I really appreciate the fact that you show it can be done. And even your scattered lot stuff, your 360 price point is 20% lower than the national average for average medium price home. So is there anything else you'd like to say before we sign off today? I really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, I think that the most effective thing that these municipalities could do is get rid of minimum home square footage. It doesn't seem like constitutional. I don't know why they should be able to tell you how small you can build a house, and they need to just let the market decide. People are afraid if you reduce that 100,000, 500 square foot homes are going to pop up overnight. And maybe that does happen. Maybe a bunch are built all at the same time, but the market will decide what's going to happen, and people are going to have to build something else. And so even now, I think people have been chasing the price similar to us. We do something unique, but I've had conversations with you that I think right now it seems like the houses that are selling the best are houses that are like $600,000 to $800,000, because the people who can afford that house are less worried about the payment. And I think builders are kind of noticing that. So if you want to see more of that, the market's I think that you'll see more of those being built because there's a scarcity of those lots.
Well, you would rather build and sell $500,000 houses than
Make more money.
$100,000
Yeah.
houses, right?
Yeah. So it's and the market always dictates it and builds what you need. So what would be best is if the more they take their hands out of it. I think people are complaining that you don't see a unique product anymore, and you see all the same cookie cutter houses. And I think it's not because that's what the builders want to do. It's because that's what the builders have been forced to do. And so the more we can get the government kind of out of what we're doing, I think the more it'll fix itself naturally, rather than kind of trying to force these fixes upon us.
That's a great point. And you could have built smaller. The zoning allowed it, but you built what you wanted to build and what you think people want to buy, even though you could have built a 700 square foot house if you wanted to.
Yeah, the reason I guess we did it is because we liked our plan and we thought it was unique and cool, and I have a good feeling about what we're building out there. And so yeah, we didn't want on our first go. We wanted to. I mentioned I think we will shoot for that smaller square footage because I think that's what the market is asking for. It seems like. So if I'm wanting to get to those teachers and policemen, I need to probably build something smaller. But my first try at it, we shot it for the maximum of the minimum. And so we wanted to build something that was cool and pretty. And so we like to do that. We like to put our names on stuff that looks good. I don't want to drive by and show my Louise and Johnson, oh, I built that, and it's like not really what you wanted to know that I built, you know? So I love showing them what we do, and so it just would be better if we could be more involved, the deciding factor of what we're building.
I think that's great. All good points and a great place to close, John. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Build Baby Build, and best of luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you.